So for a while I've been thinking about if I started my sustainable or zero waste lifestyle again, what would I do differently? And I thought maybe some people could resonate with this or some people would find this helpful. So I thought I would talk about that today. Okay, so the first thing I think I would do is nothing. I would do nothing, but I would think a lot. So every time I go back through an old workbook or like a notebook that I have that I've written hundreds of different ideas for videos, for reels, for short form, all of these different things, thinking about, and also my video plans, like zero waste habits I do in the summer, zero waste habits I do in spring, autumn, winter. It makes me realize how many things I didn't know at the very beginning. And obviously a lot of things come through practice, experience, learning from others, and just, failing quite a lot. But what I've realized is I did a lot of things at the beginning thinking that that was the right thing to do, but I actually wasted a lot more and I delayed kind of finding the right path for me by quite a considerable amount of time. So instead of going out and doing a bunch of things, I would want to sit down and think about every aspect of my life, and is it really in my best interest to start in my home, or is it in my best interest or in the best interest of actually making progress to find a community to go and be a part of, to volunteer at a local community garden, to find a local activist group. Those are the kind of things that I wish I had thought about at the very beginning before even going and deciding to buy something, thinking that I could buy my way out of wasting stuff. And when I say think, I also mean doing a whole bunch of research. So I guess that is doing stuff. But when I mean not doing things, I mean not going out and buying things and replacing the stuff that we already have in our home. So I would read a whole bunch of books. I would go online and I would find the best rated books for climate change, for living sustainably, for reducing waste, for food waste, just trying to find anything with climate or sustainability or waste in the title, and just noting down the different areas that people are writing about, and therefore the different areas that I could personally consider. If I don't have a library card, I'd get myself a library card and I would go and borrow as many books as I possibly could, and I would start there. If, of course, reading is not something that you're particularly interested in, or you find slightly more difficult, I'm a slow reader personally, you can also borrow books. I use the app Libby, which is free, and it connects to my library and I can borrow audiobooks through there as well. So this is another good way that's much more accessible because it's a free resource, and then if it's too difficult, you don't have enough time to sit down and read, then you can instead listen to it while you're doing things. I tend to listen to books when I'm cleaning the house, or sometimes when I'm filming and working, or if I'm driving somewhere I have to go somewhere a little bit further that's very annoying, I will listen to a book just to ensure that I'm getting the most out of that time. Other lower entry things that probably don't involve as much time is I would definitely go online and just see what was available in like a local group setting. I think one of the most important things that I didn't really understand at the beginning is how I could use the skills that I had impactfully, or in an impactful way, to help contribute to the community. Therefore, I went through a lot of different iterations of things, which I think is fine. I think if I'd found community first before just putting up YouTube videos about trying to reduce my waste, I may have done it in a less clunky way, or I may have bought less things thinking that that was the ultimate resource and way to live more sustainably. Having said this though, I don't regret any mistakes that I made. I've learned a huge amount from just doing. I'm not the kind of person that loves to read instruction manuals. I like to just try it out and see how it goes. You may have noticed from, my sort of jumping into knitting. Yes, of course I read the pattern, but I just wanted to kind of just go for it and just make as many mistakes as possible. But that's the first thing that I would really consider, is instead of going out and buying new things or thinking we can buy our way out of this crisis, is to just take a second and to do some research and to do some reading and find out what you connect with the most and what's actually reasonable for you to change, whilst also at the same time understanding that it's not just on our personal individual shoulders I think we do have a lot of power as a consumer, but also at the end of the day, there are huge companies that need to make massive policy changes and divestment from fossil fuels and are having a huge impact. I think when those things converge, we can have an incredible and very powerful impact on the planet and on people, community. We can really ensure that there might be a positive future for everyone. I think the second thing I would do, which feels slightly ironic because it's kind of what I'm doing now because of the economic situation that we're all in, but I would definitely go on no spend month. And I would really do a trash audit at the same time. So I would stop buying anything and note down as well, keep a journal or just like note down the things that I wanted to buy and just try and unpack that a little bit. Just trying to understand why I want to spend money on a piece of clothing that probably won't last me more than a year. Or am I spending my money just on food? Am I spending my money just on, enriching activities with my friends? What am I spending my money on and what am I wasting as well? This really helped me when I did it, simply because it helped me to understand my patterns and understand more about myself and what I reach to at different times of the month. If I'm feeling joyful, if I'm feeling very low, whatever emotion I'm feeling, it's very helpful for me to understand what that meant in terms of buying things, like my habits. And that definitely opened my eyes quite a lot. A lot of the things that we do in life, which I've learned through reading many books on habits, are subconscious. They're habits that we've built up over time and just don't really realize that we're doing anymore. A lot of those are positive and some of them are probably negative too. And when we don't have eyes on the habits that we're doing or the reasons why we're doing things, we can just kind of go through life repeating the same things without understanding where they're coming from or how to change them in the first place. Another reason why I think doing a no spend month and a kind of audit is really good is because you can understand where you're wasting. For me, I was always wasting certain bits of food, which I think is a travesty, which is why I focus so much on food waste now, because I think that that is just something that I have control over. I have the time and I have the resources to ensure that I'm not wasting food. So that was something that I personally wanted to really take on in my own life. I hate the idea of wasting food, especially when, it's a privilege to be able to have a cupboard full of food or a fridge full of food. So I wanted to ensure that I was finding ways, like doing a cupboard sweep, doing a kitchen sweep, a fridge sweep, just going through and making sure that everything was being eaten. And if it wasn't, understanding why did I buy it? Was it on offer? Did I buy something that I thought I was going to eat just because it was cheaper? And in general, it just made me a lot more mindful of my actions. If you are looking for a book on habit change, I really recommend Tiny Habits. Tiny Habits is written by BJ Fogg and he created the behavioral science lab at Stanford, I believe. He is the person who taught people like James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits, all about habit change. So even though I think Atomic Habits is a really great book, Tiny Habits, I personally think is the kind of root of all the other information that we've been put out there about habits. So I really, really recommend it. Once you have found something that you are particularly passionate about, because I don't think that we can do it all, I think it's important that you find the one thing that you feel that you can contribute the most to. I think it's really important to find community and to find something to do in person if you have the time, of course. I think it's very powerful when people come together, when you're able to meet people in real life and to share experiences, share stories, share learnings, share failings. Anytime I would go to a climate march in the UK, I would feel the energy of everyone around me and it would make me a lot more connected, but like plugged in to the community and to, the cause that we're all surrounding and fighting for. And I would often find those events very emotional because I would feel how passionate everyone was about why we're here and what we're doing. That is definitely something that I miss in Denver and something I'm definitely trying to find more community, but sort of structured things that we can do together, like volunteering When I was in Austin visiting Shelby, we went and planted trees together as a community project with her local community. And that was really fun. You got to talk to a lot of people and you got to understand and ask people why are they there? Why are they interested in helping with community projects? I also just think that local community is one of the best things to get involved in because you can have such a strong and direct impact as well. This is just one of the reasons why I planted too many tomato plants this year. I wanted to be able to give them to my neighbors and find a connection there, but also help them if they wanted to grow their own food to get started as well. I definitely want to get more involved with things like growing food and local community food sources. And I think there's a park near me that has a community project like that, and I just have to go and do it. It can be really scary and it can be intimidating to put yourself out there, but I think it's really important for feeling like you're not alone. That can be something that's very detrimental to our mental health, feeling like we're alone when other people around us aren't necessarily thinking about the climate crisis or just wanting to do our part in living more sustainably. It can be very demoralizing and hard to really persevere when you feel like it's just you. I definitely felt like that at the beginning of my journey, but that is actually one of the main reasons why I started YouTube, because there was no one around me. And I thought, why don't I put this up online and see if I can find people who resonate with me and what I'm trying to do? And I did, and it was wonderful. Obviously, not everyone can just start a YouTube channel, but if you want to, you should. Okay, and the last thing is I would tell my previous self to be incredibly open to other people's thoughts and opinions, and to not disregard anyone just because they don't reflect my own beliefs. It took me a long time to unpack and unlearn a lot of biases that I had that I didn't even realize that I had. And it can just be a product of the school you went to, the society that you grow up in, your parents, your community. There are so many outside factors that really affect the way that we were brought up and the way we think and what we believe in, that we can be very stubborn when it comes to being much more open. And I really wish that I was a lot more open at the beginning, because even though I think it's perfectly fine to be ignorant about things that you had no idea about, obviously, because I was very ignorant about a lot of things. Just being open and doing your own research after you hear something can help give you a much better understanding of other people's experiences of the same thing, of sustainability, of the climate crisis, of just trying to live more zero waste, trying to grow their own food. There are so many things to take into consideration that we can only know our own experience, but we can be open to understanding other people's experiences and allow that to inform our activism, our contribution to the system, to society, to our community. And with that said, I just wanted to share a few books that I have read and have found very impactful. And these are different areas. So again, this is the Tiny Habits book I was talking about, by BJ Fogg. You can see that I've labeled a lot of stuff in here. I find this very helpful. I still have this book, and this is one of the books that I bought because I knew I'd be going back into it many times. The next one is Prisoners of Geography by Tim Marshall. Excellent book. This is incredibly important. One of the best books about geopolitics that you can read. This is not necessarily about climate or sustainability, but I think it's really important. Invisible Women. Let me read you the back because it might be a little bit more helpful. From government policy and medical research to technology, workplaces and the media, Invisible Women reveals how in a world largely built for and by men, we are systematically ignoring half the population, often with disastrous consequences, from across the world that illustrate the hidden ways in which women are forgotten and the profound impact that this has on all of us. Of course, it only really focuses on men and women, so again, another large proportion of the population are left out of this book as well. So it's just a good read to understand, one, how science is skewed when it comes to research and technology, but then also may help you, because it helped me, look at my own biases and think about that. Okay, if you haven't heard of Leah Thomas is the creator of Green Girl Leah and also intersectional environmentalist. I have followed her for a long time and I think she's a wonderful and inspiring activist and creator. She's written this book, The Intersectional Environmentalist, How to Dismantle Systems of Oppression to Protect People and Planet. I think that this book is very accessible. It's a very easy read in terms of the way it's written. It's not an easy read when you realize that you don't know a lot of things. It covers things like what is misogynoir. It covers things like environmental racism. It also goes into lots of different areas like lithium mining and fashion and the ethics around that. So it's quite a short book, easy read if you're interested. I'm still reading this book, Climate Crisis and the Global Green New Deal, A Survival Manual for Civilization. I'll put all of these books down below as well. And if you're into gardening or you want to grow your own food and you want to do it as sustainably as possible, again, this is a different book, so these are a wide variety of things. This is Charles Dowding's No Dig book. This is probably the most helpful if you do live in the UK in terms of, because it gives you seasonal understanding of when to start growing things. But it also is very helpful for around the world, so that you can understand how to make your garden and your soil as healthy as possible. And through learning about that, you can learn about seasonality, locality. You can understand about soil health and biodiversity in your garden, about water and water shortages, droughts, floods. Like there's just so much information that you can learn from practically just building a garden and having a garden, but then also from this book. It's great. I got this for Christmas from my husband's mum and I love it. So if I was starting my zero waste lifestyle or my sustainable lifestyle, my journey, again, this is what I would try and look for first. I would love to hear your thoughts about what you would do. I haven't done a sit down video in quite a long time, so it felt nice to be able to just sit down and talk to you about this. So please let me know any of your thoughts in the comments and what you would do differently. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe so that you never miss another one. Okay, see you later.